Well, good evening. Good evening, good evening. Let me get my paperwork there. The meeting is now convened and the time is 5:32 p.m. Mrs. Nepa, let the record show that all board members are present except for Dr. Mahatma Khani. And she's on her way. Okay. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our agenda item is the approval of the agenda, and our recommended action is that the board approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion? Dr. Thomas Tate moved. Board Member Huff seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. 6 passes. Did you say aye? Okay, well, I hope you're better. So 7-2 for the agenda. Thank you. All right, public comments. We have now come to the portion of our meeting where we hear from speakers. The Board of Education welcomes comments about the issues being discussed. The board uses this time in our meeting to listen to the public, but will not comment or engage with the public during this meeting. The board allows for up to 10 speakers per public comment period. The board chair will call on individuals in the order in which they signed up. Substitutions are not permitted. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes and will be timed by the board secretary. Comments must be acceptable for a business and family-friendly environment. Inappropriate language, gestures, or personal attacks will not be tolerated. It is inappropriate to address the board about individual students or individual staff members by name in open meetings. If you have concerns about individuals, these concerns should be addressed through the appropriate administrative supervisors, either in the schools or in the district office. If you have materials that you want to share, please place them in the tray on the podium and they will be distributed to board members following the meeting. Our first speaker this evening is Lynette Wright.
Tribute to it. What children eat during the day matters. I say this not from judgment, but from lived experience. Nutrition affects far more than hunger. It influences physical health, emotional balance, energy levels, and a child's ability to stay focused and engaged in the classroom. When students are properly nourished, they are better equipped to learn, participate, regulate their behavior throughout the day. A growing body of research from organizations such as the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the National Institute of Health, and the National Library of Medicine shows that frequent consumptions of food high in refined sugars and ultra-processed ingredients is associated with higher rates of childhood obesity and long-term health concerns. Refined sugars and additives commonly found in highly processed foods, including maltodextrin, dextrin, and polydextrose, can contribute to rapid spikes and crashes in blood sugar. These fluctuations are often linked to irritability, reduced attention span, and difficulty maintaining focus, which can interfere with learning. From my perspective as a mother, a grandmother, and someone with 30+ years experience in food service, we should be prioritizing meals that emphasize whole foods and fewer processed ingredients. This supports not only physical health, but students' ability to focus, self-regulate, and succeed academically and socially. The USDA and Missouri DESE set the baseline requirements for school meals, but those standards are minimum guidelines, not the ceiling. Food service management companies have discretion over menu planning, ingredient quality, scratch cooking, sourcing, and added sugars, making healthier choices both possible and achievable. Many districts are already doing this at the same cost. Springfield Public Schools wellness policy and stated commitment students' health reference board policy ADF district wellness programs which emphasize providing nutritious food, promote healthy eating habits, and supporting physical and academic success. Springfield Public Schools lead in academics and innovation. Our nutrition services should reflect the same standards. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Our next speaker is Alyssa Hokanen. Did I pronounce that correctly? Hokanen. Short O sound.
Yes.
Got it.
Good evening, members of the board, colleagues, and community members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Alyssa Hokanen, and I am one of the multi-site kitchen managers over 4 schools here at SPS. I have spent the last 10 years in the district focusing on serving our students and staff with pride. I am here to discuss the potential impact of changing our food management company. I received a memo yesterday evening that a district committee recommends continuing with our current food management company, and I am here to express my full support of that recommendation. First, as many of you are aware, nutrition is a critical aspect of our students' well-being and academic success. Currently, our food management company, Aramark, goes above and beyond the USDA guidelines, even being awarded the USDA Trailblazer Recognition Award in June of 2025, ensuring that our students receive nutritious and balanced meals. These guidelines are standardized across the U.S., which means changing providers would not inherently improve the quality of food. Changing companies, however, could interrupt our long-established operations with having to learn new systems. Next, I understand there are new guidelines with the USDA on the horizon, which promise to address some of the nutritional concerns parents have voiced. As these guidelines are implemented, it is crucial that we work with a partner who understands the unique needs of SPS and has already built a trustworthy relationship with us. Aramark has demonstrated reliability and responsiveness. Kim Keller, our department director, always answers calls and texts promptly, illustrating their commitment to addressing our needs in a timely manner. Third, another crucial factor to consider is the impact on our employees. Transitioning to a different food management company could lead to significant changes, including the possibility of staff becoming contracted employees of the new management company. This uncertainty is a concern for many of my colleagues and myself as we value our roles as district employees. We believe that maintaining our current structure helps ensure job security and stability for our dedicated team. A transition may lead to unforeseen challenges and adjustments, which could result in disruptions in service and satisfaction. We have built a strong partnership with Aramark, one that supports our students, staff, and community. In conclusion, I urge the board to consider the stability and the consistency that our current food management company offers. By maintaining our partnership with Aramark, we can ensure reliable, nutritious meals for the students while also supporting our dedicated staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's now time to take a look at the consent agenda. These items are being brought forward to review. We will vote on these items at the February 24th, 2026 regular meeting. (5.01) Policy Adoptions Revisions. There are 2 policies on the agenda for review. These policies will be brought forward for vote at the February 24, 2026 regular meeting. We have time to review the policies and ask any questions that we may have. As a reminder, these policies are brought forward by MSBA with recommended adjustments based on legislation and change in statute. Dr. Lathan, do you have an update for the board regarding one of the policies?
Yes, good evening, board members. I did hand a copy out of IIA instructional materials to you. There was a change made on yesterday by MSBA, so the newer version has been uploaded. I know Dr. Muhammad Khani has some comments that she would like to make about this particular policy. Board members, the copy you have on the front is the original language that was submitted when the agenda posted on last Friday. And then on the back side, you have the change, which was a minor change that was made on yesterday by MSBA. And so I'll just turn it over to Board Member Muhammad Khani.
Do you mind if I go and start with the other one first? Is that all right? Okay. The other policy, let me just, so the first policy is IIAC, and I just want to share with you some questions I had and their answers in case you have the same questions. So the thing that I find interesting is why are these policies coming to us? And I like that they have this little description, but I found that the policy doesn't really address what it is purported to address. And I've got an answer on that. So on IIAC, it's supposed to outline a process for formal review of public questions, comments, and concerns. And we don't have that in this policy because it's referenced in a different one, KLB, which we do have, but it's an administrative procedure one, which is housed within our administrative procedure department. And so Dr. Lathan is going to forward that to us, the process, right? There's a process that we have in the district for addressing review of patron, parent concerns with library materials. So there's that. And then the other one, I asked them, under confidentiality, it talks about, so the students, what the students checking out is part of their education record. And like the rest of their education record, their guardian parent is privy to it. But then it talks about individually identify library records of persons other than students will not be released. And then it outlines the scenarios under which they can be released. So I asked, well, who are these other people? I wasn't aware that others checked out books from our libraries. And I'm now coming to understand that in very, very small districts, rural districts, there are situations where that's the only library in that town. So sometimes other members are allowed to go to the school and check them out. And so this particular clause just follows the Missouri library law. So that was important for me. Then the other question I had was, there is like a proper noun because it's in the very last green phrase says, it's green highlighted. It says, library records also include library access selection forms. And because it's capitalized, I thought, well, what is this? Well, it's not a proper pronoun. It's not something specific. What it is whatever form you have, you can call it whatever your district wants to call it, but that's the form or the process you have in place that would allow a parent or a guardian to say, my child does not have access to X, Y, and Z. So whatever that is, that they're referencing that as library access selection form, right? So, and that's also a part of the student's medical education record. So there's that one. Okay, moving on to the next one. The next policy, which is IIA. And I had really the same concern with this one because it talks about ed tech, and it seems to want to address the issues with data privacy, data security, and cyber risk, but it doesn't really address them. Well, that's because it's basically tied at the hip with policy EHBD, which we don't have currently, and then a couple other policies, EHB and EHBC, that are referenced there, up there in gray, which we do have, but we haven't updated them yet. And so my understanding after talking with them and Dr. Lathan is that while this policy is coming to us, we are simultaneously working on the other policies. So I would like personally to see us adopt all of them at the same time, maybe table this one so that we could see it in its totality. That would be my preference, so I'd like you guys to take that into consideration, if you would be willing to table it, because this policy is really part of the other three. Does that make sense? And then while you are considering that, Right, that's just my suggestion. So if you could maybe, think about it and let Dr. Lathan or Board President Brunner let them know how you feel about this. And if I can make one more request, in the paragraph, the second paragraph, this is a question I asked, and they answered it, and I'm happy with the answer, but I still want you to reflect on this. That second paragraph talks about how after the board approves the budget, the superintendent, or maybe it says and designee, let me read this again, the appropriate professional personnel, in consultation with the administration, will select materials for school classrooms. When the board has approved the final budget for the year, the superintendent or designee shall direct the purchase within the limits of the adopted budget of books, supplies, and equipment and other instructional materials required. But then they strike through the part where it says that these items will be audited, the claims, and submitted to the board for approval and authorization for payment. And I asked MSBA why they struck that out, because, I kind of like that, and we already get everything. Everything comes to us. Well, apparently everything comes to us because it's an old 19th century law that says every bill and contract has to go to the school board. And so their position was, well, we're just trying to streamline it, and we're trying to make it more efficient. And if you want, you can keep it. It's not going to make a difference as to how you operate. So what I heard was, well, it's already baked in. We don't like duplicating it. When we see duplications, we're crossing them out. But my proposal to my colleagues is, well, let's leave it in because we already do it. But that's for you to consider. I think that's all I have to say on these two.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to new business items. A reminder that the new business items brought forward this evening are for review and to ask any questions. Then we will be asked to vote at the February 25, 2026 regular meeting. New business, item 6.01, E-rate purchase approval. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Bruce Douglas to the podium to present information on the E-rate purchase approval. As a reminder, this is an annual process which comes to the board in February.
Good evening, board. It doesn't get more exciting than E-rate purchase time of the year. So I will quickly just go back over what is the E-rate program, how do we utilize it, what are we using it for this year, and what the next steps are within the overall program. So again, E-rate was established in 1997 by the FCC and is administered through USAC, or the Universal Service Administration Company. What it does is provide discounts to libraries and public schools around internet connections. And so it's really a way of making that affordable for our public entities. And so it has a very defined process that we follow every year. There's a bidding process that we do in the winter timeframe. And so we've completed that process in December, where we bid whatever hardware or services we're utilizing. And then it comes into a request process, which is where we're at tonight, where we're requesting approval for signature of these contracts. From there, it goes back to USAC to review and make sure that we have signed all of our paperwork. And that's very important. We utilize a third-party company called CRW, and they make sure that we are spot on, because we do not want to have an audit with the federal government around these pieces. There's been a lot of pieces around that over the years. We've never had to have an audit, thankfully, since my time as director. And so from there, once that gets approved, we get a funding letter, and then we're approved to actually issue purchase orders, and then we get invoiced for that equipment. So annual cycle, we're always living in about 3 years of E-rate at any given time. And so there's specific pieces that are eligible under the E-rate program. There's a category 1. This is unlimited funding, basically. So this deals with directly the internet access. So this is our internet service provider, and it's always fully funded. The category 2 pieces are our internal connections, and that lives on a 5-year budget cycle. We're actually starting a new 5-year budget cycle this year. They did increase that amount up to just over $200 per pupil, so we have a budget of right around $4.8 million to spend over the next 5 years. That is good news, because last year there was actually a Supreme Court judgment saying that the federal funding for E-rate is constitutional, and we were very concerned about that last year. That did pass through, but this last session they did remove 2 pieces from E-rate, and that's mobile internet for buses and hotspot programs for students. We had not been utilizing those, so that's not going to affect us specifically, but this is a piece of advocacy that we continue to work towards of ensuring that the funding for the E-rate program continues. And so what we use the Category 2 for are our wireless access points in our buildings, our switches, all the network gear that we use to support the district. And that really comes into this next piece of what does just this mean for our network. So this is a fun little history lesson that I get to be a historian around. So back in 2013 with our bond project, we actually updated the entire network at that time, and that kind of reset it. And that's where we're starting to get into our refresh cycles right now. So our wireless, we're actually on our second refresh cycle since then. So we completed our first refresh in 2023, and we're now heading into our second refresh of our wireless access points. And then our wired network, which all of the cabling that happens in the back of the building, that's where this plugs into. We actually haven't been up to speed on our refresh on this piece, so we're actually past the time frame that we want to do this on. And so we're hoping to get that completed next year. And what we have tonight is beginning our elementary schools. We should be able to wrap that up next year. And so as we look at our network, we're always prioritizing these three things. How do we support the learning environment, ensure that we have high-performance network for all of our students and teachers? How do we support our operational staff, ensuring all of our HVAC, our security cameras, our access control is always up and running? And then how do we make sure that we're securing that network? And so what's before you tonight is an update for middle school wireless access points, elementary wireless access points, and switches for about 10 elementaries, and then new firewalls for the district data center. This comes through an invoicing in two different methods. We use the SPY method, and I bring this forward for awareness that the Board of Education has to approve the entire amount for us to then have that invoicing and that reimbursement. So what's before you tonight is the amount of just over $1.5 million, although we're going to be using the SPY method of invoicing, meaning we're only paying the portion that is required by us. And this is what that breaks down to be is $1.566 million for the total cost that you'll be approving tonight. Out of our dollars will be that $372,435. The way that breaks down is a 76-24 split, which is really weird. And that's because we receive 80% of eligible services for reimbursement, but not everything is eligible. And so the firewalls specifically are only about half eligible, and that's why you see that difference instead of a straight 80-20 split. But this does mean that the E-rate program is funding right around $1.2 million of our equipment, which is fantastic. So our next steps with approval this month, we'll submit our 471 forms. Then that goes to our funding letter in the summer, and then we'll start purchasing this equipment and installing it into next school year. And that is the joy of E-rate. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Dr. Mahatmakani?
Okay, I actually have a lot of questions. You might have to get back to me in writing because you said a lot more that was in here.
Can I ask just one thing? My one question was that the hotspots are not covered by E-rate program, and so it will be into the SPS budget?
Yeah, and we've actually not utilized the E-rate program because we get such a good deal through T-Mobile. It's actually cheaper.
Okay, thank you. That's my one
Sure.
question.
Okay, so, and I really appreciate you including last year's presentation also. That was really helpful. So last year, 80% was covered. We funded 20% of the total $814,000. So we've received that refund, right? Okay, fantastic. So now I was going to ask you what a switch is, but I'll look that up. But I thought this was all for switches, but now you're throwing all this firewall, wireless, elementary, middle school.
Yep.
I'm just trying to understand what we did and what we're going to do. So in FY '26 to execute in '27, 1.566, we're going to pay for 24%, and this is going to pay for what again?
Yeah. So network switches are what the cables plug into, basically, that run the network.
Okay.
And so we're beginning the refresh at our elementary schools. That's about 10 elementary schools.
So
that will
network
receive-
switches in elementary, okay.
Along with that, those elementary schools will receive new wireless access points, so those guys right up there on the ceiling. And that's what we connect to with our devices.
Okay.
We also have 5 middle schools, and that's the last of our middle school refresh for wireless access points.
Okay, so this finishes the middle school.
Yeah.
But then earlier you said something about high schools.
High schools have had all their updates for both switches and wireless access points in the
You
last 3
didn't
years.
say it. It was in the slide deck.
Oh, okay.
The word high school was in last year's and this year's, and I wasn't sure what that meant.
Yeah, we're not doing any high schools with that, and I can go back on the slide deck
I
and
think you've
double-check that.
updated your slide deck since Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because it was there and I don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
But how does all this fit into, see, this is the problem when you give me old information. How does all this fit into the FY '21 to '25 of 4 million spend? Did we spend our full 4 million?
Yeah, we spent every dollar of our last E-rate cycle, and that was one thing I updated this morning. I
Okay, yeah,
caught that,
because I'm
yeah.
like, where did that slide go?
Yeah. And so we're now heading into a new funding cycle that begins this year for 5 years, and we have about $4.8 million to spend.
Okay, so we spent the 4.13 for the last 5-year cycle, and this 5-year cycle, we have, I'm trying to find it, another 4.8.
Yep.
And we're going to use how much of it now out of 1.566, 75%, about $1 million of it?
Yeah, just over $1 million, about $1.2 million.
Thank you. You know, I would really appreciate if you updated your slides, if you could just kind of let us know, because I was trying to, because I put a question on slide 6, but I can't find it anymore. That's because you've updated
Yep.
it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Other questions, comments for Mr. Douglas? Okay. You are going to remain at the podium.
Ma'am.
Item 6.02, student device purchase.
Not as fancy
Mr. Bruce
as you, right?
Douglas will remain at the podium to provide information on the 2026-27 student device purchase.
This is our annual refresh of student devices. This is a little different from previous years. So we'll be purchasing 5,000 Chromebooks this year for 9th grade and for launch specifically. 2,000 of those are for 9th grade, 3,000 of those are for launch. And that's largely due to the fact launch continues to see an increase in enrollment with MOCAP and also with our full-time virtual students in town. So we're seeing a higher need for the amount of Chromebooks in that program. The reason why we're not purchasing any other Chromebooks besides that, where we're normally refreshing within our elementary and middle schools as well, we're actually seeing a lot of market volatility within our Chromebooks. So we're seeing 6-month lead times potentially with Chromebooks before we actually, from the time we order to the time we receive them. And we're also being told that we should be expecting anywhere between a 30 and 40% increase in cost. So if we had waited much longer, we could potentially be looking at much higher increases on these Chromebooks. The current Chromebook fleet that we have are still receiving security updates for at least 2 more years. And so we're actually not forced to do that this year. We do anticipate that there will be a little increase in repair cost, but that part we'll be able to handle just through our operating budget. So because of that volatility in the market, we really chose to pause on purchasing any more Chromebooks for the rest of the fleet to try and let that settle down before we come back next year and really reevaluate where's the fleet, what are the needs, and how do we move forward. So a little smaller purchase this year than we normally would have, and that's really the reason. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this purchase.
Board members, questions, comments?
Just a quick clarification, that attached invoice has 3,000 as the quantity. So does the same unit price extend to that 5,000? Because the math doesn't quite math out on that.
We'll get the 2,000 invoice or quote added in. The launch Chromebooks do not include an accidental warranty.
Okay.
And so the other 2,000 do. They're just a little more expensive at about $340.
That makes the math a little better, yeah. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Dr. Mahamakani?
So every 9th grader will get a new device?
Yeah, that's how we refresh at the high school. They get a new device their 9th grade year, and they keep that for their high school
That was going to
career.
be my next question. So every new high schooler gets to start out with a new device?
Yep.
That's their entry point, okay. Because I know that, And then other than ninth graders, the life cycle of the device is 4 years?
Yeah, we plan on a
Okay.
4-year life cycle.
So even if a student, so regardless, our entry point for the new ones is always for ninth grade?
Yeah,
Okay.
for high schools.
Thank you for that. And then these devices are coming at under $300, which is the price we're used to.
And that's for the launch ones. Sorry, I didn't realize that the other quote. The ones for ninth grade are a little higher because we have that warranty built into it.
Correct, but I'm just thinking it should, for 5,000, it should be 1.5 million, so it's under 1.5 million. So it's a little under 300, the whole baggage.
overall. Yep.
Overall, yeah. So would you say, and so I feel that the devices or the Chromebooks today are more sophisticated than the ones that we were purchasing 5 years ago. Would you agree with that, or is it still the same caliber device?
It's pretty similar. So they began using an education edition about 7 years ago, if I recall, and that's where they make them tougher, right? To just boil that down, the devices are more resilient, harder to break because they're in an educational environment where they may not, just be sitting on a desk type of thing. And that's been about the same device that we've used for the last 7
In terms of capability, but they're just a little bit more kid-proof.
Yeah.
But they have the same software capability.
Yeah,
and
same software
hardware.
capabilities. Google continues to update the Chrome OS, and then the actual hardware is still pretty similar. It's still an Intel processor. These are seeing a little higher increase in the RAM that's included in the computers, just as the life cycles continue. This is the normal purchase.
But they
that we
still
have.
don't have touchscreen ability, same keyboard, everything
Yeah,
is the same.
Correct.
I know there are better options out there, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say you think that this is the best option for what we can afford.
Yeah, for our high school students, this allows everyone to have the device that then supports their overall curriculum. And then in those areas where we need specific needs, like our journalism labs, our media labs, our business labs, they have specialty devices such as Windows computers, Macintosh laptops, that type of thing. I
So they
probably
have
shouldn't mention.
computers that sit on a desk, and they have access to laptops where they can do non-Google-based learning.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? I do have one question, Bruce. If they get a new computer as a ninth grader, and I should remember this, but I don't. So they're a sophomore now, and the computer is damaged beyond repair. What's the family obligation for that? What's the district obligation?
I'll have to go back to exactly what the dollar figure is. Off the top of my head, I think it's about 25 to for a full-time or for a full-pay student. I think there's a lower amount for an FRL student, but I'll go back and double-check that. It's in our student fees.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So they get to keep the same Chromebook? They don't return it and get another one in their sophomore year?
Yeah, we actually have them keep the same Chromebook
Oh, so if they
throughout
take
their
good
high
care
school
of it.
career. Yeah, we try and incentivize that.
Yeah, got it. That's why you're giving them a new one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6.03, performance contract Pittman Elementary, Truman Elementary, Wilson's Creek Intermediate. Mr. Sean Dilday will join us at the podium for this item and remain at the podium for the next agenda item as well.
So good evening, Board. This evening, we bring before you a request for proposal for a performance contract to replace the HVA systems at Pittman, Truman, and Wilson's Creek with geothermal. A pre-bid meeting was held, and 5 companies was included in that pre-bid meeting. After the process, one company provided us feedback and their qualifications for this project. That was Verigy. Verigy was the company that submitted, and Verigy was the company that did our last performance contract back in 2024. As you recall, some of you may recall, that rebate, we got approximately $4.2 million back through the rebate program. Again, we're coming before you this evening to introduce another project, and I brought Sage Acorn with Verigy to share some of the highlights and details of this project and any questions concerning the IRA rebate program. So Sage?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for allowing us to come back again and bring this before you. I know there's a couple new board members, so I'll be very respectful of time, but I'm going to do a brief recap of who we are, what we do, how we got there, high level of the last project, and then a little bit on the new project, and then feel free to ask questions. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I think I've got a good list of pre-thought through questions here that we can hopefully answer all your questions. So Verigy is actually a Missouri company. We started 26 years ago, roughly, and most of our work since then has been in Missouri K-12 schools. We've done over 300 projects in Missouri schools. We've been in hundreds of buildings in Missouri and in school districts specifically. And so we really understand what schools need, what they go through, their challenges. And so that, I think, gives us a little bit of an edge on a lot of other companies and a real good insight in what we do. We also are what's called a performance contractor. So we do things a little bit different than maybe your traditional way of going about business, but there are some very strong reasons why it's a good deal for schools to use performance contracting, and I'll touch on a few of those without going into all the detail that we could. There's legislation that backs it, and you can look that up at your leisure, and I can answer any questions about that if we have those questions here in a minute. So just to really, again, touch on, let me give you a couple more insights about Verigy. We are a Missouri company. We also have a Springfield office. So everyone involved in this project from the operations side that'd be running the project, your day-to-day project management will be Springfield people. And actually, 3 of the project managers have kids in SPS. So they are very acquainted with the schools. They're very, obviously have a very large reason to make sure the jobs go well, and they want the best for the district because of that. So our office is actually over off of Battlefield. If you ever want to come visit, I'll give you a tour. It's a lovely, small little office, but it's great. So this last project that we did, some of you may be familiar, again, the newer board members may not, but we took on 3 of your schools, Carver, Disney, and Sequiota, and we completely gutted the HVAC systems, the original HVAC systems, completely redesigned a brand new system, geothermal systems, and then implemented those in one summer. So the day school got out, we started tearing down ceilings, and we redid all of those schools in one summer and had them back up and running before school started. That is a monumental task, and we are very happy to stand before you and tell you it went very successfully. And we'll get into this, we talk about performance contracting, but one of the things that sets us aside in this process aside is that we give a guaranteed maximum price with no change orders. And so even though the size and complexity of this project was large, we were happy to come back and say that we did not give a single change order to the district. And actually at the end, there was an allowance that we had in there for rock breaking for the well drilling that we had to do that we did not use, and wrote a check back to the district for $200,000. So I don't know about you, how much construction you've been involved in, but that does not happen very often. And so we're very proud of that, and we are excited to bring that back to the table again. So that's a little bit about us. Now a little bit about performance contracting. I touched on that briefly. It is a method to go to contract with a contractor that allows some flexibility for the district, but it also, the high key points, again, guaranteed maximum price, no change orders, and we do all of the development. We did all the development up front at risk, hoping we would get the project. If we would not have gotten it, the district would have not owed us anything. This is just how we go to business. So thankfully, we're here today, and hopefully we'll end up with the contract. But one of the reasons that's an advantage to what we do is in other methods of going to contract, you'd be just now starting the design process, which means this project wouldn't be able to be done until probably next year. We have this designed and are ready to go, and we will have this done before the end of this summer. So we will start as soon as school gets out, and just like last time, we will be done before school gets back in session. So we are, that's kind of the high points of performance contracting. A little bit about this project. We are taking on 3 more schools. We're going to be at Pittman, Truman, and Wilson's Creek. And this time there's a few little differences. One of them is that in the last project, we had a few buildings where there was a few units that weren't geothermal that stayed in place. We went back with air to air, but this is a complete geothermal system. And so that's one advantage, one exciting thing we're wanting to bring to the table, but also that increases your IRA rebate. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the IRA is, I'll touch on that real quick, unless you have a question up to this point. Sorry, I talk fast. I got a lot of kids, and I always got to get it out real quick, or I don't get so much. All right. So the IRA is the Inflation Reduction Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act extended a tax credit to public entities that was only prior allowed to go to public entities that only prior went to private entities. And so you don't pay taxes, the school district doesn't pay taxes, and so therefore didn't get tax credits. But now there's tax credits available to you to incentivize you to do certain projects. One of those things is geothermal HVAC. And so you'll apply, just like we did in the last one, and we'll help you through this process. We did this in the last process, or last project. We worked with the district very closely to get all the documents, file all the right forms, and get that check. But it allows you to get a minimum of 30% of the project paid for by federal funds. These are not competitive funds, which means you're not applying for this and hoping that you get the grant. If you do the project, you will get the funds. It's a very simple formula. I'm not an accountant, so it's not simple to me, but it's a simple formula for them to run through and say, did they do geothermal? Was it the entire project? How much money was it? They run the calculations, and then there's a few kickers that they can throw on there that allow you to get a little bit more than 30%, but anywhere from 30 to 50% of the project can be paid for by federal funds. We're anticipating on this project, we're estimating very conservatively. We're hoping we're going to be able to come back and surprise you with a much bigger number, but we're estimating about $4.3 to $4.4 million on this one as well. But that could go up depending on the different incentives that are allowed under this project. So, like I said, I threw a lot out there really quick. Any questions for me regarding Verigy or the project or the IRA, or direct pay? By the way, that comes to you in a check. It's not a grant that you have to use for a specific thing, so that money comes back to the district and you can use it how the district feels they want to.
Thank you. Board Member Huff, question, comment?
Yeah, I was just curious, in addition to the IRA rebate, are there other cost savings, I'm assuming, associated with geothermal HVAC, and kind of what is the average cost savings on a utility bill?
So that's, okay, so the last part's a little more difficult to answer, but yes. So performance contracting, to be a performance contractor has to have some kind of energy savings associated with that. Any of the energy savings that are associated with the project, we guarantee. So if it's just, if you throw out a number, $20,000 and you only save 10, we have to write you a check for the difference. So those, we actually are tracking those. And so at the end of each year, we provide a report, and I don't have the report from the last one, but we are saving more than what we had anticipated. I will say Springfield does a fantastic job running your buildings. You have very efficient projects. So the biggest amount of funding for this project as far as grants would go would be from the IRA funding. There's not really an average because every school is going to have slightly different rates. You have demand charges and things that are going to go up and down. But those are things we actually have written into the contract. When you go to our Schedule C at the back of the contract, shows how those are calculated, what those look like, and then we have our average savings, I think, are in there. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. How long does that performance-based?
15 years.
15 years, okay.
Other comments? Dr. Mahan-Makani?
So we've already installed in Carver, Disney, and Sequoia. I thought this was project 4, but you said Truman and Wilson's Creek. Are those to come next, or?
Sorry, the first project was Carver, Disney, and Sequoia, all 3 schools.
That was in 2024.
That was in 2024. This project will be Pittman, Truman, and Wilson's Creek.
Okay, you're putting them all together.
Yes.
So I'm going to go back and forth. So the $4.2 million rebate that we got, that was the 30% rebate? Is that the percentage that we got? That's what we anticipated, okay. And so this is schools 4, 5, and 6. Have we had any issues with the projects in terms of performance since, I mean, I know we've only had to do
With the past projects, we just
yeah,
did.
we've done a little bit of cooling at the beginning of the year and then mostly heat right now.
So we have had great success with those projects. We've had no major issues with any of the buildings. And that's why, not only with the rebate piece of it, but the efficiency and the quality of the equipment that we put in, it's saving us time. We're not sending techs out to work on them. So yes, they are a much better system than.
So, because, you know, this is very expensive. So if I had to recap it, would it be fair to say that we go this route because we're spending double or maybe even more than double if we went a traditional HVAC? Because it's extremely efficient, right? You have less maintenance issues. It's very reliable. And here's the other thing, maybe I'm wrong, but this is my understanding from previous presentations, that while you might only be doing a performance, you know, overlooking that for, not overlooking it, looking over it for 15 years, but that these systems are going to work longer than 20 years.
Yes.
Like decades, right? Would it be fair to say, and plus we get a 30% rebate.
Yes.
for all those reasons, we're actually coming out ahead, even though it seems like the upfront cost is 2 to 3 times.
That's a really good point.
Is that a
So,
fair way to put
yeah.
this? Okay.
Geothermal is probably one of the most, if not the most efficient HVAC systems you would see go into a school. And I even believe the last project, one of the other methods that was looking at being used was actually a little bit cheaper, but it didn't qualify for the IRA. And so this is a great way to get an upfront, a more like Cadillac version of an HVAC system for a much lower price. So your upfront cost may be higher, but the IRA brings it in line with traditional HVAC systems. It also lasts a lot longer on
That's
average.
a lot longer.
Instead of 15 to 25 years, you're up in the 35 or more, and then your well field is even longer than that. And
Your
also
what field?
The well field. So every school has a well field. That's actually what's cooling and heating your building. So you're using the ground.
Oh, I
to
see.
do
So
the heavy
even if
lifting.
in 40 years you have to come and change it, your well field is still good?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
Okay, got it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yes, Board Member Provance?
I was over at Disney when it opened up in August, and no one could believe that you could do 3 schools in 3 months. Not even the people in the building until they walked in on a 90-plus temperature day, and it was outstanding for the kids and the teachers. You make our winters bearable, you make our summers bearable. So,
Well, I really appreciate that. And we did have a lot of people up front say that there's no way this can't happen, and we had to tell them that we do this all the time. We've done more geothermal systems in Missouri than any other company like ours. So we're very confident that we can, deliver on what we say, but I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Trust you. Thank you.
One thing I'll add to it also is going with this system and new systems that we're putting in, we're addressing air quality issues. This goes back to a 2020 report that we did with an outside company to evaluate buildings and air quality. So we're addressing air quality as we're addressing HVAC as well.
Other questions, comments?
Gosh, I wish we were putting these in our new buildings.
We'd be happy to.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, ladies.
Item 7.01, change orders and agreements.
We're at Kickapoo.
Oh, Kickapoo, sorry. Well, I just like to skip. I told Dr. Range that we'd be done by 6:30, and I was trying to skip.
You're trying to move ahead
Yeah,
real quick
no, I'm
here.
sorry. Item 6.04, Kickapoo HVAC. Thank you.
So this is another HVAC project. This is completely different than geothermal. Geothermal for this location is really not an option. This, we advertised for bids for replacing HVAC in a section of Kickapoo. We're life cycled out in this section of the building, and we're to the point that it's got to be replaced. This project, Gold Mechanical, was the low bid on it, and it is estimated about it has come in at $3,674,000 and some change. So this is a replacement of a 20-year-old system. It's a section of the building. It's the south section of the building, which is the oldest part of the building, and it's just a total replacement of that area. Again, it'll address our quality issues as well.
Questions, comments for Mr. Dilday?
I just have a brief comment. How many bids did we receive, or a question, how many bids did we receive it on this?
On this particular one, we received, I had it in my notes here, we received five different bidders, 3 submitted.
Questions, comments? Okay. Mr. Dilday, if you'll remain up there, we're going to go to your next item, and Dr. Shaw will wait on you, since he's already at the podium. So now let's talk about bond project updates and actions, change orders and agreements.
So before you this evening is change order agreements, minimal this month. We do have one change order. It is for Pipkin Middle School. It's a combination of multiple items in an amount of $24,127. There is some credits involved in this, plus some additional charges. And then we have 2 agreements for custodial supplies for Reed and Pipkin, along with some technology audiovisual amplifiers for the gymnasium. That'll be for Reed Middle School with a total of $32,414. Any questions I can answer?
Questions, comments? Board Member Provance?
How are we still good on dates that the schools will be opening?
We will be in classes when school starts after the end of the summer at both buildings.
And we got a little bit of time to move in the summer?
We've got scheduled time for move-in and furniture setup.
That's amazing.
Yes, it really is.
It's amazing.
Two beautiful buildings, and Reed, I was in Reed one day this week, and it's a beautiful building.
Good. The recommended action item, thank you, is that the board approves the change orders and agreements as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, now just wait a minute here. Okay, so President Kincaid moved. And who seconded? Board Member Huff, hello. So, all in favor? Opposed? Chair votes aye. All right. Okay, now we'll do Bingham Elementary precast and demo.
So this is a proposal to bring before the board for early bid items. This is so we can get started as soon as school is out. It covers the precast for the storm shelter, and then it also covers the demolition of the existing building. These two items we're putting on early bids so we can keep the schedule to be able to open this building on time. There was 3 demo bids received, and the subcontractor for demo was Bumgardner. The total price of this item is $1.3 million, and asking for a board to approve so we can move this forward.
Questions, comments from the board? Dr. Mahatmakani?
So when they go to demo the elementary, Bingham Elementary, do we know when that would be? Would they like tell you, hey, we're coming on
Yes,
June 5th?
yes. Yeah, we'll have a scheduled date for demo.
Would you let me know?
Yes.
You know, there was those buildings that
I can loop the schedule in
the
the
whole,
Dr.
yeah,
Latham.
it was really sad seeing like an iconic building like Reed, but Bingham. You know, I don't want to say anything about, but, you know, the era that it was, you know, it's a single story. It's going to be a lovely bon voyage. And I miss the Reed demo. I don't want to miss the Bingham demo. Thank you.
All right, so my kids were involved. There's a mural there, a little rock work inside. We going to save that, or are we going to?
We're saving the mural.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Joyce Samsel said that if you're going to get rid of it, she wanted it.
It's going to be saved, and we'll utilize it in the new building.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? The recommended action is that the board approve the precast and demo bid for Bingham Elementary as presented. Do I have a motion? Oh, okay. Board Member Smart. Thank you. Board Member Huff. All in favor? Opposed? Chair votes aye. Okay, now, Dr. Shaw. Dr. Travis Shaw will join us for the student nutrition management expenditures.
Well, good evening, board. Each year we do bring student nutrition services expenditures to you. The difference with this year is that every 5 years we are required to put our food service management company out for bid, known as a request for proposal, RFP. And so we did that, and 2 proposals were submitted on January 22nd, and then those were evaluated by district committee. Some of the criteria that was used to make this decision and make the recommendation was price, obviously, and cost of the management program, service capability, their experience, references, personnel management, the innovation that they bring, promotion of the school food service program, as well as the involvement of students, staff, and patrons. And so the recommendation is to continue the agreement, a new agreement with Airmark Food Service. Some highlights that I want to bring to your attention. Airmark has been with SPS since 1991, so for 35 years, they've been a partner with our district. Some of the things that they highlighted are around nutrition leadership and proactive standards. Aramark consistently works ahead of evolving nutrition guidance to support student health through a proactive approach that emphasizes less added sugar, lower sodium, and more whole grains in nutrition education. At SPS, this has included breakfast menu pilots that reduced added sugar in advanced federal requirements. You will recall that a couple years ago, they actually went ahead and reduced the sugar that was required. In fact, we received from the USDA a Trailblazer Award in 24-25 because of that proactive measures. In addition, Aramark maintains rigorous oversight of ingredient sourcing, menu formulation, and nutrition education to ensure students receive meals that support learning, energy, and long-term health. They've also demonstrated operational excellence, fiscal responsibility, and accountability. In terms of safety, Aramark Student Nutrition has maintained an average health inspection rate of 98% with no findings, with historical performance consistently above 95%. The most recent USDA and DESE administrative review, which assesses compliance, found no fiscal irregularities, reinforcing sound financial stewardship and strong compliance practices. They've also represented only 1.6% waste from our food purchases, which is well below the industry average of 4%. Another piece on the safety aspect is Aramark's student nutrition team has supported the training and Serve Safe certification of more than 170 student nutrition employees, which obviously strengthens the food safety and culture across all of our sites. But I think a big piece that they really have focused on in the last 5 years is around student voice, community connection, and engagement. They do this through student viewpoint surveys, as well as principal pulse surveys with 88% overall satisfaction and 94% of our principals recommending Aramark. There's also a standing student nutrition menu advisory committee that includes parents, teachers, school nurses, supervisors, dietitians, as well as operations leaders to help guide and provide feedback for the menus moving forward. They also have student-centered initiatives such as chef-led pop-ups, taste tests, limited time offerings known as LTOs in our schools, and then the Culinary Classic competition. So looking ahead, some of the commitments that they are making and some goals that focus around what do the next 5 years look like, those focus around student engagement and program growth, culinary innovation and promotion, breakfast program refresh, a dedicated marketing leadership to SPS, expanded dinner and evening meals for our students that have activities that go past school time, a la carte selection refresh, as well as financial stewardship and transparency. So the recommendation before you involves the expenditures each year. Now, what I need to make sure you understand, these are estimated expenditures based on historical data from student participation. And DESE recommends that not only does the board approve the management and administration fees, which represent $382,120 approximate for the year, but also the food supply and Aramark wages and benefits, because those are all expenditures that we reimburse back to Aramark. And so the total that you would be asked to vote on and approve would be an estimated cost of $8,497,470. Also a reminder, we receive a lot of money back from federal and state reimbursements that offset those costs, so that is not something that the district is out. We do receive a lot of reimbursements throughout the year. So that's a lot that's been said. We did, like I said, receive 2 proposals. The other company was Southwest Food Service, which happened to also bid 5 years ago as well. But we are extremely excited to continue moving forward with the partnership with Aramark. We are very satisfied with the work they do. Always room for things that they can improve on. I love the look ahead that they provided on the things that they're going to be focusing on. They do meet with our administrative team, and they bring their administrative team in twice a year to go through the client business review. And so they are keeping us up to date with what they're doing and the things that we have to look forward to. And then also listening to our feedback so that if there's things that we need to see changed, they're very receptive to that. So I will pause and answer questions if you have them.
Questions, comments, board members? Dr. Mohammed
I want to always be the one to go first.
Well, I saw your green button there. Okay.
I just appreciate the fact that we try to get as many local vendors involved. I mean, money spent in Springfield multiplies over, so I appreciate what they do to, you've got, Springfield Grocer, Highland, and Fellers, so I appreciate that.
Other board member comments? Dr. Mahatma-Kani.
Yes, it's me. Let me start by saying that I really appreciate the time that you took and that Dr. Lathan took to meet with me and explain the process and the criteria and the reasoning. And and much of it is supported with what you said, but there's a document that's attached, and it's right now locked, but I'm assuming it'll be available to the public after this meeting, so that'll be good, and I like to invite the public to go and read that. And thank you for reassuring me that there will be a continued commitment to improving the nutritional quality of the food. We've been doing it every year on year, and that's going to continue. To that end, though, and I'm reading off this document, I wish that we would stop using this as a criterion to increase participation. I don't think that should be the mark that we're chasing. Whether students participate or not, that could be a family decision, and it belongs with each family. We're here to support the students nutritionally for those students that choose to eat breakfast and lunch at our schools. Aramark is a private business, like any private corporation. They're there to make money. More meals you sell, the more money they make. So I would really like to see, and I'm not saying that's not here, but I want the focus to always be that our plan is to improve the quality of the food, which includes the taste of the food. But I really like some of the words I heard tonight. To make food more nutritious, I think we need to be more purposeful in increasing the volume of fresh food, decreasing processed food, and try to increase the scratch cooking that we do. So having said all that, I do have a couple questions, and I don't expect them to be answered today, but I would appreciate an answer, especially in writing, because that's how I remember things. The first question I've asked before, and it's been partially answered tonight, but just a little bit more clarity on the dinner expense. So we pay for breakfast, lunch, snacks, and dinner, and I understand dinner is for activities for students, but if you could just kind of talk about how it's reimbursed. Is it just like lunch? Because I understand how lunch is, how that works. And then my other question that I'd like you to get back with me is something I'm actually really excited about. The Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act of 2025 that was signed into law January 14th of this year, and it reflects strong bipartisan support and leadership, and this is federally in the House and the Senate. And, we participate in the National School Lunch Program. But the comparison with how we did things before and now is at lunch, we may now offer whole milk in addition to reduced fat, low fat, and fat-free, and non-dairy options, and that we no longer we can exclude the saturated fat from milk when we calculate the weekly average saturated fat requirement, and that I think there was that if we do use a flavored milk, like chocolate milk, that it must contain no more than 10 grams of added sugar. So there's all this. Then there's this other caveat or this other stipulation that previously there was a requirement for milk substitutes, so almond milk, oat milk, that kind of stuff, non-dairy products, that you needed a written statement from a state licensed healthcare professional, registered dietitian, but now that also includes the parent or guardian. So with this law on the books, and when you read the USDA, apparently this has been pushed out to the state agencies and presumably down to the districts. All the verbiage is effective immediately, so which nothing is really effective immediately. So my question is, how soon will we change our milk offerings? So first off, what choices will we offer? When will this be implemented? And really, I'm dying to know, how soon are we going to start offering whole milk to kids? And you don't have to answer me today, but if you can get that to me, that'd be great.
Okay.
I mean, for the record, I think that the reintroduction of full-fat dairy absolutely supports children's nutrition. So I'm really, as one parent, really happy to see this.
Other questions, comments?
I have just a couple brief questions, and you may not know the answer off the top of your head. Going back to Miriam's point about participation, do you know what percentage of students typically eat a school lunch versus bringing in a lunch from home?
I don't know that specific percentage. I don't know if Airmark knows that percentage.
Sorry to put you on the spot here.
Mid-50s%.
Okay, so about half and half, and I'm sure that varies by grade level and such. And then I didn't realize how many surveys we are doing to make sure that our students and parents and guardians are all happy. Is the Student Nutrition Menu Advisory Committee different than the district committee that was referenced earlier that has made the recommendation that we remain with Airmark? They are two different committees. How often are we doing these surveys that are listed in here?
The surveys are done annually.
Sure.
Yeah.
I realize I'm combining committee questions and survey questions. Sorry, separate things. Student Nutrition Menu Advisory Committee, different than the committee who recommended that we stay with Airmark. Separate question, how often do we do those surveys with the parents?
That's an annual.
Annual.
Yeah, it's usually around, I think we did it in October this year.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to tag on to that. I would like to see those surveys. I'd like to see the trend, because I'm assuming we're trending up. So if we're doing them annually, I wasn't aware that we were doing them annually. That would be something that I think would be very beneficial to share with the board.
Other questions, comments?
I do.
Yes, Dr. Thomas Tate?
So I'm not necessarily advocating for Airmark services, but I am speaking on behalf of what my experience has been with our food service workers and their leadership. They have worked really hard, in my opinion, and do a very great job of providing a variety of very nutritious meals. I know that I've talked to them about some of the things that they've done, and those who don't talk to them directly may not know that their sugar content is adjusted in many of the foods that they provide to our kids. And while processed foods are served, I can attest from my own experience that there are fresh fruits and vegetables at every meal that I've experienced. They also have included other fresh cooked foods that are non-processed as a part of their serving of the kids. And I appreciate that they are very open to hearing our suggestions. When I have had the opportunity to talk to them about what the kids are liking or not liking, they make adjustments to try to find ways to serve kids foods that they will eat and like and that are nutritious, and they make lots of adjustments during that period. So I really appreciate the way that the staff works with Airmark to provide our meals, and a lot of it, the company outside of itself, I know that it does provide the food, but our staff works with them really well. And from my experience, they've been very receptive to making adjustments when we give them feedback, and so I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Okay. As a reminder, all new business items will come forward during the February 24th, 2026 regular meeting for vote as part of the consent agenda. Well, I think we're down to the superintendent's update.
Good evening, board members. Today I had the honor of surprising one of our outstanding teachers, Miss Monica Shear. She is a PE teacher at Reed Academy, and she was our proud Teacher Proud Tuesday recipient. Really excited to be able monthly to go out and surprise teachers across our school district. This past Saturday, I had the wonderful opportunity to participate in Shop with a Hero, which was sponsored by Care to Learn. And I want to personally recognize our governor and First Lady Claudia Kehoe. They spent over 2 hours Saturday with us at the Walmart location on North Kansas Expressway. And they were just really involved with getting to know the families, helping students to shop. They also, First Lady Kehoe has Bring the Mansion to wherever. So each month she spotlights a different nonprofit. And so Care to Learn was being spotlighted. But they provided Valentine's Day bags to all of the students that participated. And it's within the bag, and if anyone is a parent that understands this time of year, there were cards. So Valentine's Day cards, about 30 cards in a pack with yo-yos, candy, all things. But that makes a highlight of a student's day to be able to go and give their peers Valentine's Day cards. So I just want to thank them. I also want to thank Crystal Simons and Doug Pitt. Doug is the Springfieldian of the Year. He is also a Kickapoo High School graduate. He loves SPS, and he has supported SPS for over 15 years with Care to Learn, so I appreciate that. Yesterday, we hosted our Teacher SPS recruitment event, trying to recruit teachers to our district. We were excited that over 22 current student teacher applicants attended the event. Next Friday, February 20th, we will host Principal for a Day. Over 50 business leaders will be out and about in our schools, shadowing our building principals, and then we will conclude the day with a debrief. Thank you, board members, for your participation and attendance and support of Principal for a Day. That concludes my comments. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, and still time for you to get your Love SPS gear. Go to the Foundation for Springfield Public Schools website. Friday is the last day of the campaign. Show your love for SPS. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lathan. Other board member comments? Okay. Board Member Provance, this is your second.
So it's Valentine's month. Happy to see everyone in the red. Happy to see everyone with their heart on. I know that we live in a big world. It's not a nice world. There's shootings, there's stabbings, there's kidnappings. We don't have to live in a big world. We live in Springfield. We can make Springfield our own little world. I see everyone with their heart on, and I know that everyone has this feeling that we have to keep the kids safe. We're safer than most. But let's live in a world where there is love and appreciation. I want to start by thanking the bus drivers that got the kids to and from school every day, and they got about 650 kids out to the archery tournament, and not one kid was late for his flight. And we want to thank the cooks for not only the breakfast and the lunches you serve in the school, but there were so many kids that came in with their sack lunch, and they had lunch provided for them when they were away from school. And we want to thank everyone that contributes to our little world here in the schools. If I had a magic wand, but I don't, teachers are the ones with the magic wand. And they're the ones that touch the kids, that make all the difference in the world. They change their futures. And they don't do them by themselves because they've got extra sets of hands with all the paras and all the academic curriculum coaches and all the administrative help. It takes that village in the school to make sure all of our kids succeed. And I'd like to thank for all the athletics and activities that are provided to our kids. That's an incredible amount of effort. But that's what kids remember the most. I was thinking back about how our curriculum is set for our different levels of education. I asked my kids if they could remember all of their elementary teachers by name. And they could. And then I asked them about their middle schools. And they said, wow, it was the activities. I mean, they went to this new school, and they had so many things to be involved in. First time they ever represented their school. It was such a proud moment. And then the high schools. We know that our high schools stand for academic success so that the kids are prepared to move on. But one of the most important things that they remember about their high school is the relationships. I mean, we do go to our high school reunions, but we don't go to our high school reunions. That's the first time that those relationships were so important to us that we were ready to go into the workforce and be goal-oriented to the success. What if I could talk to all the students and say, no acts of defiance to teachers or parents? But let's have everyone set an example of always saying please and thank you, of in our own little small world here in Springfield, that we acknowledge appreciation and acts of kindness. And what if we just tell folks in our community that we appreciate the service we get when we go out? I mean, I go to a lot of the schools, and I am overwhelmed by how kind the schools are right now. But we can move it out into the city of Springfield. So in the month of February and the month of Valentine's and the month that all you have your red on, let's make it the month of love in our community. All right? Thank you.
Okay, who wants to follow that? I ask. I hear you.
I will.
Okay, Dr. Thomas Tate.
So in the spirit of love and Valentine's Day, and as someone who deeply believes in public education and in this district, I love our schools because they are more than buildings. They are places where children discover who they are, where families entrust us with their hopes, and where educators show up every day with patience, skill, and heart. My daytime work is as a professor at Missouri State University, and last week I took a group of my graduate students to visit Delaware Elementary to learn about how to work with students with severe disabilities. And today I debriefed with my students today in our class, and I had them all tell me their takeaway message, and their takeaway message was, that was such a hopeful place. It was such a bright space. The teachers really care about the kids. The kids seem to enjoy being at school. They had so many positive things to say about the school, the teachers, the buildings, but particularly those teachers who are working in special education, who seem to have hope for every single child. My students were saying that they left there believing that every child can truly learn and every child has the opportunity to learn in our schools. And I appreciate those teachers for the work that they do there and at all of our schools. To our teachers and staff, thank you for the care you give to our students. So often goes unseen. The explanations, the encouragement, the steady presence, and the belief that you hold for our children even when they struggle to hold it for themselves. To our students, you are the reason we do this work. Your curiosity, your resilience, your creativity, and joy reminds us why education matters. Thank you to our families. Thank you to our partner for partnering with us and advocating for your children and trusting our schools. It is an honor for me to serve this community and that values learning, growth, and opportunity for every child in our district. So with appreciation, happy Valentine's Day.
Okay, now who wants to follow that? Thank you. Dr. Mahan Makani?
Happy Valentine's Day. I want to take a few minutes to showcase something that is very near and dear to my heart. You can guess what it is. But while usually you'll find that there's multiple events happening in one night, so while the chamber event was announcing the Springfieldian of the Year, some of us were at Central High School and Glendale High School in the debate tournament. I love debate. It's so good for the students. And somehow I used to be on the Central Rolodex, and I've moved over to the Glendale Rolodex. So I got to spend my afternoon, evening, night at Glendale. And what a treat that was. It was so well run. So the debate tournaments are actually put on by the students at that high school. And when you see that in action, you realize sometimes it doesn't feel like they're minors, right? I feel like There's young professional adults that have put this together. So it's always a highlight of January. And if you're interested, please reach out. They're always looking for volunteers. And if you don't like judging, because it's a little weird at first, you can help in the hospitality room. You can help just direct the flow of traffic. And not only was it an opportunity to see how well the students work together and how smooth and how organized they were and how efficient they were, you get to also, because this was the first year where I didn't have skin in the game, so I didn't have any students that I knew personally at one of our other high schools. I actually got to judge our students in the other high schools that are participating. And I got to see regional schools far away, Liberty, North Kansas City, homeschoolers come, private schools. It's such an amazing experience, and I just really wish that everybody would take a little bit of time. It gives me hope for the future, because these are the kids that are going to be taking care of us, right? So next year will be my 10th year, so it'll be my 10th year anniversary. So I'll have to make it really special and drag somebody else along with me. One thing, though, I need the school board historian or somebody to tell me about something about Glendale that I found very unique. At the top of there's 2 doors into each classroom. And usually there's, I don't know, what do you call that space above? There's like for light, that light comes through.
It's called a transom?
Yes, except the transom is usually made of glass that you can push open or close. But at Glendale, it's a grate above the doors. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? So sound will travel through it. So that was a little interesting trying to judge, because you're trying to judge, but all the other students are practicing outside. That was fun, but I'd love to hear the story on that. I don't know, somebody thought of it. It's got to serve, right? So at all times, I can just think, was this a principal like 30 years ago that said, I want to walk down the halls and hear what's happening in all the classrooms? Anyway, I want to know about that. And then the other thing that I want to thank Judy for bringing this to my attention. You know what I'm going to talk about, right? I took a picture of it. Is another favorite activity of mine, the Empty Bowls Luncheon. It's going to be at Studi, February 16th. What I love about it is, if you're a soup lover, this will be the best soup experience that you will have. The company is stupendous. The food is amazing. The rolls are from, they're not going to throw it at you, but they're from Lambert's. And then you get to walk away with a bowl. I've been collecting these bowls. I use them. I love them. So please, if you have an hour for lunch, this is going to be the best lunch you're going to get, and the company is amazing. And that's February 16th from noon to 1, and all it's going to cost you is $15. And that's the donation towards their event. And you get a bowl. And if you want another bowl, you have to pay another $15. But I'm telling you, you can have as many bowls of soup, and there's a variety of soup. It's not A, B, it's like A, B, C, or D, and you can have as many rolls as you want. I don't think you can get a lunch like this anywhere else in town for $15. So we're going to go. We'd like to see you there. Thank you.
Other comments? We had the opportunity, some of us did today, whose schedule allowed, we went to the Lunch and Learn, which is hosted by the Springfield Public Schools Foundation. They do 4 of them a year. And the one today featured a panel of, I believe, 4 people. Dr. Allison Roffers was kind of the moderator of it. She's our, I forget her title. She's the head of Director of Counseling here in town. She does an outstanding job, and she put together a panelist, a gentleman from Burrell, an elementary counselor who happened to be Counselor of the Year, Josh Scott, yes, with athletics, and he talked about the connection, interestingly, between mental health and athletics. And then Brad Brummel was there as well, talking about the physical education and health curriculum and how it all goes together. And there was a lot of really good information shared. It's just a good reminder, I think, to all of us, regardless of what our personal experiences may have been, that people do need support and they need help at different times in their life. And sometimes they recognize that they need that help, and sometimes others have to help them see that. So I leave opportunities like that, having learned new things and coming away impressed and feeling good that this is another area where Springfield Public Schools really does excel. And when Dr. Roffers talked about our crisis team that goes, like if we have an unfortunate incident at a school, a student death, a faculty death, there's a group of counselors that go in. It's just an immediate response that arrives there. But as the district historian, I will tell you that started years ago by Mrs. Martha Edelman, who was one of our counselors at Reed Junior High at the time. And she and Jan Strange, who was a counselor at Parkview, put their heads together, and they could see a need for immediate response on site when a school has experienced some sort of tragic or trauma event. So I left there today, as I often do, inspired and feeling good about what we heard and what we saw. So yeah. That's it for me.
Can I make one more quick statement?
Of course you may.
I just want to give a shout out to one of our standout athletic students, athletes for Springfield Public Schools. Joel Rover is a junior at Glendale High School, and last night at Glendale, he scored 1,000 career points as a junior and ended the game with 40 points. He's not only a good athlete, he's also in advanced placement classes, earning a 4.0, and is a good citizen. So shout out to our student athletes.
All right. Anything else for the good of the cause? All right. Upcoming meetings, February 24th, 2026, a regular board meeting. Our final recommended action is that the board adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Oh. Dr. Thomas Tate moved. Board Member Huff seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Dr. Range, 7 o'clock. We tried. We did our best.